are depraved enough to try to get straight guys to suck their dick. We've all heard it.
Yo, things just hit a whole new level of chaos in the Diddy drama. Joe Rogan, Terrence Howard, and Katt Williams came out swinging, dropping some wild bombs tied to Diddy's name, like they're not holding back at all. And guess who showed up out of nowhere like a scene straight out of a thriller? Elon Musk. Yup, Elon's been firing off some cryptic shots online, and they look like they're aimed right at Hollywood's top dogs. Word online is that some big-name celebs are packing up and fleeing overseas, trying to dodge the mess before it blows up even more. But let's be real here for a sec. Most of this is coming from whispers, online theories, and people who are supposedly close to the action. We're just cruising through the gossip waves right now. Not saying it's all facts, so don't come for us. Now here's where it gets real messy. Straight from what folks claim is prison talk, Diddy might be ready to snitch on everyone just to save his neck. And Joe, Terrence, and Katt are all hinting that some A-listers are seriously freaking out. The name that really threw people for a loop, Uncle Steve Harvey. Yep, for real. People online say that the second Steve caught wind of Diddy's possible indictment, he didn't just bounce, he disappeared. Like, ghosted. He wiped his whole social media clean like he was trying to erase his digital footprint. Even deleted a tweet from way back in 2017 where he called Diddy his brother and said he was doing good for the kids. That's not just suspicious, that's spooky. But it gets even more twisted. Let's rewind to that time Steve was chilling in Italy with Diddy and Lori Harvey. Yeah, the same Lori who had just dropped Diddy's son Justin and started dating Diddy himself. That whole situation already felt like a soap opera. But guess what? There's more coming, and it's about to get even messier. So check this. During that Italy getaway, a photo popped up showing Lori Harvey rocking white nail polish. Might sound like a small detail, right? But hold up. It's not so random if you've been keeping up with Cassie's lawsuit. She claimed that Diddy allegedly forced women around him to wear white nails during his twisted so-called freak-offs, so their hands would stand out more in his disturbing private recordings. Creepy, right? And get this. It wasn't just Lori. Young Miami had those same white nails too. Even Diddy's own mom was spotted with them. Now people are putting two and two together and asking, was Steve Harvey really just an innocent bystander? Or was he playing the Hollywood clout game, rubbing shoulders with power players and looking the other way while things got shady? All eyes are on him now, especially considering Diddy's role as CEO of Revolt, always in rooms with producers, movers, and billion-dollar deals. If Diddy starts dropping real names, this whole industry could flip upside down. And Steve suddenly scrubbing his socials like he's trying to vanish? It's starting to look less like coincidence and more like he's making a silent exit. People are saying it's not just cleaning up, it's a calculated escape. But hold tight, because we haven't even gotten to Meek Mill yet. And that rabbit hole, it's way deeper than you think. Let's talk about that old video. Diddy chilling poolside, calling Meek daddy like it's just a playful thing between wealthy buddies. He's saying, I'm proud of you, daddy. I love you. At the time, it felt like rich people weirdness. But now, with Diddy surrounded by serious allegations, that clip is looking straight up strange. Folks are looking back at that moment with brand new eyes, like maybe there was more going on than we thought. And Meek, total silence. Ever since Diddy's mess exploded online, Meek's been ghost. No posts, no comments, no nothing. Just crickets. But let's not get it twisted. Him and Diddy weren't just industry acquaintances. They were tight, and now that silence, it's deafening. So here's where things take an even darker turn. According to Lil Rod, one of the dudes who filed a lawsuit against Diddy, the connection between Diddy and Meek Mill wasn't just about music or business. Lil Rod straight up claimed that Diddy was bending Meek, that's the exact word he used, and allegedly giving him industry favors in return. Yeah, it's as wild as it sounds. And right when those bombshell allegations hit the air, Meek didn't just dip. He vanished like a ghost on a private jet straight to Africa. Then he started tweeting out these weird cryptic messages, like he was starring in his own spy thriller or something. One of the most shocking tweets, Meek offered $100,000 to anyone who could find out who was trying to tie his name to Diddy.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives.
That one tweet sent the internet into full detective mode. People started asking, was this just some random trip, or was Meek running from something? Now the buzz online says Meek's playing it smart, keeping his mouth shut, acting like he's not involved. But behind the scenes, he's pulling strings and cleaning house. Some folks even think there's actual footage involved in the FBI's investigation, and Meek might be on it. If that's true, his total silence suddenly makes a lot more sense. It looks like he's staying low while hoping it all dies down. But trust, the streets are way too loud right now. And guess what? Meek's not the only one catching heat. Let's talk Usher. His connection to Diddy goes way back, like way back to when Usher was just 13. He was part of something called Flavor Camp, which at the time sounded like an exclusive mentorship retreat. But now, people are looking back at it like something wasn't right. And then came the real shocker. Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, came out and said Diddy allegedly sent Usher to the hospital, and not just for any injury. He said it involved serious damage down there. Gene didn't spell it out right away, but the way he described it, it was enough to make your stomach turn. Gene said he heard this straight from some veteran Harlem music execs, guys who were so disgusted they were ready to leave the industry altogether after what they saw. And just when you thought this whole thing couldn't get any darker, boom! That old clip of Kevin Hart interviewing Diddy is making the rounds again. Back then, folks brushed it off as a joke, but now, nobody's laughing. In the video, Diddy casually says that he and Usher used to wake up together when Usher was just 10 years old. Yeah, that line hits very different now. People are watching that footage frame by frame, trying to spot clues they missed the first time. It's like the internet's got a flashlight and a checklist digging into every word. And if Usher really got caught up in anything sketchy, especially when he was a kid, he better have a legal team locked and loaded because this could explode quick. But hold up, it doesn't stop there. Now Jay-Z's name is getting dragged into this storm too. See, Jay and Diddy go way back. Business partners, luxury parties, exclusive circles, always moving in the same high-powered spaces. But now, that bond is under a microscope, and things are starting to look shady. There's one name that keeps popping up again and again, Kathy White. Word is, she was Jay-Z's alleged mistress, and the rumor mill says she got pregnant with his baby. Then out of nowhere, she died, just like that, under mysterious circumstances. For years, it was just hushed talk in the background. But now, the whispers are turning into straight-up shouts. Some folks are even saying that Diddy might have had the real tea, maybe even footage, on what went down with Kathy. No receipts yet, but the speculation is buzzing hard enough to make even the most untouchable moguls start sweating. Just when you thought Jay-Z was out of the mix, bam, his name's right back in the middle. And this time, it's not vague rumors. The heat is rising and the questions, they're only getting louder. So let's rewind a few months, because this piece right here had jaws dropping. A woman filed a lawsuit accusing both Jay-Z and Diddy of seriously violating her after the 2000 VMAs. She said it happened during a private after-party at some fancy New York City residence, like something straight out of an industry nightmare. But once the case hit the courtroom, things started unraveling fast. Her story had holes popping up everywhere. She claimed her father picked her up after the incident, but when he testified, he said he didn't remember any of that. Then she tried to say she spoke with Benji Madden at the party. But here's the catch. Madden wasn't even in New York at the time. The timeline started crumbling, key details were off, and it all became a mess. So the judge tossed the whole case. But here's the thing, just cause it got dismissed doesn't mean the smoke disappeared. The accusation alone was enough to send shockwaves all over again. And you know who poured gasoline on the fire? Jaguar Wright. She's been one of the loudest voices calling out big names in the industry, and when it came to Jay-Z, she went all the way in. According to her, Jay isn't just caught up in the mess, she says he's deeper in it than even Diddy. She literally called him the devil. That's a direct quote. Jaguar claims she personally knows 3 different women who are allegedly ready to come forward and speak their truth. And it's not just about Jay-Z. She said Beyonce's name belongs in the mix too. She painted them as a powerful duo with some seriously dark secrets, stuff the public would never imagine. Her words were wild, talking about control, manipulation, and what she called a nasty little couple who've done horrible things behind the scenes. And she didn't stop there. Jaguar even brought up Kim Porter's mysterious passing and drew eerie parallels to Aaliyah's tragic death, suggesting both women were put in dangerous situations they couldn't escape. According to her, this industry isn't just shady, it's sinister, and the smiling faces we see in public might be hiding serious darkness. She finished it off with one chilling statement. She said without hesitation that she'd never take a photo with Jay-Z. Not now, not ever. Jaguar Wright didn't hold back. She even said, "I'm smarter than Claudia Jordan. I would never take a picture with the devil. Everyone knew he was the devil. He's been the devil for 30 years. That's heavy. Like, she's not just throwing shade, she's throwing fire. And speaking of things aging in the worst way possible, remember that super cringy birthday video Diddy made for French Montana? Yeah, the one where they were both glistening in baby oil and Diddy was singing happy birthday like it was a slow jam? At the time, it was just awkward. Now, after reports said the feds found over 1,000 bottles of baby oil during the Diddy raids, that video hits completely different, and not in a good way, but it keeps getting messier. Guess who's back in the spotlight again? Jennifer Lopez. Let's flash back to that wild 1999 nightclub shooting with Diddy and rapper Shine. For years, people whispered about what really went down that night. But now, new claims are resurfacing that J-Lo might have been the one holding the weapon in her purse. Word is, when the shots rang out, she allegedly tossed the gun and then lied to the grand jury. While Shine ended up doing 10 years behind bars, J-Lo walked away clean, and Diddy distanced himself fast. But now, with all these old scandals being dragged back into the light, nothing is staying buried anymore. Enter Natanya Rubin, one of the women injured in that club shooting. She's not letting the truth fade away. She's been speaking out, calling for the case to be reopened, and she's not playing around. Natanya says J-Lo straight up lied under oath, and she's even willing to have the bullet fragments removed from her face to prove it. That's how serious she is. According to her, Jennifer had the weapon in her bag, and when chaos broke out, she ditched it and spun a whole story to the courts. Now the pressure's rising again, and people are realizing just how deep this Diddy saga really runs. This isn't just about him anymore. It's turning into a full-blown unraveling of the industry's darkest secrets. So let's rewind a few months, because this piece right here had jaws dropping. A woman filed a lawsuit accusing both Jay-Z and Diddy of seriously violating her after the 2000 VMAs. She said it happened during a private after-party at some fancy New York City residence, like something straight out of an industry nightmare. But once the case hit the courtroom, things started unraveling fast. Her story had holes popping up everywhere. She claimed her father picked her up after the incident, but when he testified, he said he didn't remember any of that. Then she tried to say she spoke with Benji Madden at the party. But here's the catch. Madden wasn't even in New York at the time. The timeline started crumbling, key details were off, and it all became a mess. So the judge tossed the whole case. But here's the thing. Just because it got dismissed doesn't mean the smoke disappeared. The accusation alone was enough to send shockwaves all over again.
People be talking, and we was around some people, something like that, and then some people might say, yo, I don't F with that dude. And at the time, I didn't even know who the F Usher was. You know what I'm saying? It was one of those type of situations. And when people say, yo, man, I don't F with them niggas, man, I'm getting out that industry and everything like that. You know, Puff sent this little kid to the hospital. How he sent her to the hospital? Man, Nick was bleeding from the butt. And that's what was said.
And you know who poured gasoline on the fire? Jaguar Wright. She's been one of the loudest voices calling out big names in the industry, and when it came to Jay-Z, she went all the way in. According to her, Jay isn't just caught up in the mess. She says he's deeper in it than even Diddy. She literally called him the devil. That's a direct quote. Jaguar claims she personally knows 3 different women who are allegedly ready to come forward and speak their truth. And it's not just about Jay-Z. She said Beyonce's name belongs in the mix too. She painted them as a powerful duo with some seriously dark secrets, stuff the public would never imagine. Her words were wild, talking about control, manipulation, and what she called a nasty little couple who've done horrible things behind the scenes. And she didn't stop there. Jaguar even brought up Kim Porter's mysterious passing and drew eerie parallels to Aaliyah's tragic death, suggesting both women were put in dangerous situations they couldn't escape. According to her, this industry isn't just shady, it's sinister, and the smiling faces we see in public might be hiding serious darkness. She finished it off with one chilling statement. She said without hesitation that she'd never take a photo with Jay-Z. Not now, not ever. Pass a key. 6-piece. I'm smarter than Claudia Jordan. She said, I would never take a picture with the devil. Everyone knew he was the devil. He's been the devil for 30 years. That's some heavy stuff. And speaking of things aging badly, remember that super awkward birthday video Diddy made for French Montana? The one where they're both glistening in baby oil and Diddy singing happy birthday like it's a love ballad? That clip used to just seem uncomfortable. Now, after the feds reportedly found over 1,000 bottles of baby oil during the Diddy raids, that moment takes on a whole new level of disturbing. But it doesn't stop there. Jennifer Lopez got dragged back into the conversation too. Flashback to that infamous 1999 nightclub shooting involving Diddy and rapper Shine. For years, people speculated about what really happened that night, and now sources are saying J-Lo might have been the one actually carrying the weapon in her purse. When things went down, she allegedly tossed the piece and lied about it to the grand jury. She walked away clean while Shine went to prison for a decade, and did he distance himself? But with all these past scandals being re-examined under a new light, nothing staying buried anymore? See, Natanya Rubin, one of the women injured that night, isn't letting the truth stay buried. She's been calling for the case to be reopened, claiming that J-Lo straight up lied to the grand jury. Natanya says she's willing to have the bullet fragments removed from her face just to prove it. According to her, Jennifer was the one carrying the weapon in her purse, and when things went down, she ditched it and lied under oath. ChatGPT Pasak. Original word. Count 364. Rewritten word count 441. Jaguar. Wright didn't hold back. She even said, I'm smarter than Claudia Jordan. I would never take a picture with the devil. Everyone knew he was the devil. He's been the devil for 30 years. That's heavy. Like, she's not just throwing shade, she's throwing fire. And speaking of things aging in the worst way possible, remember that super cringy birthday video Diddy made for French Montana? Yeah, the one where they were both glistening in baby oil and Diddy was singing happy birthday like it was a slow jam. At the time, it was just awkward. Now, after reports said the feds found over 1,000 bottles of baby oil during the Diddy raids, that video hits completely different, and not in a good way, but it keeps getting messier. Guess who's back in the spotlight again? Jennifer Lopez. Let's flash back to that wild 1999 nightclub shooting with Diddy and rapper Shine. For years, people whispered about what really went down that night, but now, new claims are resurfacing that J-Lo might have been the one holding the weapon in her purse. Word is, when the shots rang out, she allegedly tossed the gun and then lied to the grand jury. While Shine ended up doing 10 years behind bars, J-Lo walked away clean and Diddy distanced himself fast. But now, with all these old scandals being dragged back into the light, nothing is staying buried anymore. Enter Natanya Rubin, one of the women injured in that club shooting. She's not letting the truth fade away. She's been speaking out, calling for the case to be reopened, and she's not playing around. Natanya says J-Lo straight up lied under oath, and she's even willing to have the bullet fragments removed from her face to prove it. That's how serious she is. According to her, Jennifer had the weapon in her bag, and when chaos broke out, she ditched it and spun a whole story to the courts. Now the pressure's rising again, and people are realizing just how deep this Diddy saga really runs. This isn't just about him anymore. It's turning into a full-blown unraveling of the industry's darkest secrets. Pass a keys. 7th piece. That's perjury. That's jail time. That's not just a scandal. That's a fall from grace. Decades in the making. If her story holds water and the case gets reopened, Jennifer Lopez might not just be facing backlash, she could be staring down legal consequences. And it's not just her. Diddy's name keeps circling back like a boomerang. The same man who was once untouchable is now the center of a federal storm. And it looks like he might not go down alone. Because now the whispers have turned into a roar. Whistleblowers are stepping up loud, proud and unafraid, and one name leading the charge: Katt Williams. Katt's been screaming this from the rooftop for years. People called him crazy, called him paranoid, laughed him off. But now the world's finally catching up. He warned about the Diddy parties, the private gatherings with no cameras, no rules, and no limits according to Katt. Those weren't just industry mixers. They were something darker, something most people weren't supposed to know. He was talking about those who crossed the line to gain entry into the elite circles of Hollywood people who gave up everything: morals, identity, dignity, thinking. There'd never be a price. But Katt's message is clear. The bill always comes due. And now it's not just urban legends and whispers. Elon Musk himself threw a gasoline-soaked match into the fire when he reposted a tweet calling out Ellen DeGeneres. Why? Because she suddenly dipped out of the US right after the Diddy investigation went public. Not a press release, no formal goodbye, just disappeared. Fast forward a few weeks and new photos pop up. Ellen, in some quiet British pub, unrecognizable, new hair, new clothes, new everything. For excuse. She says she moved to escape the madness in America, but people aren't buying it. ChatGPT Pasake. Original word count, 381. Rewritten word count, 448. That's not just drama, that's perjury. That's jail time. If what Natanya Rubin's saying turns out to be true and the case gets reopened, Jennifer Lopez isn't just looking at backlash, she could be staring down real legal heat. We're talking a full-on fall from grace decades in the making. And just when you think the focus might shift, nope. Diddy's name keeps spinning back around like a boomerang you can't dodge. The man who once looked untouchable, yachts, private jets, industry clout, is now right in the middle of a federal firestorm. And the word on the street, he's not going down by himself. Because now, the whispers have turned into full-blown roars. Whistleblowers are stepping up, loud, proud, and fearless. And one voice that's been echoing the longest? Katt Williams. Katt's been warning folks for years. He said it before anyone else, talking about Diddy's secret parties, the invite-only gatherings where phones were banned, cameras were blocked, and no rules applied. Back then, people laughed at him, called him paranoid, said he was just being extra. But now, the world's finally listening. Katt said those weren't just Hollywood mixers. They were something way darker. Events where morals went out the window, where people gave up everything just to belong, identity, dignity, even their souls. And he said one thing clear as day: the bill always comes due. And now, it's not just Katt blowing the whistle. Elon Musk jumped into the chaos too, throwing fuel on the fire. He reposted a tweet that called out Ellen DeGeneres, questioning why she dipped out of the US right after Diddy's investigation hit the headlines. No farewell tour, no press statement, just gone. Then, a few weeks later, boom, paparazzi snapped new pics of Ellen chilling in some random quiet pub in the UK, looking nothing like her old self. New hairstyle, laid-back clothes, blending in like she didn't want to be found. Her excuse: she said she needed to escape the madness in America. But let's be honest, people ain't buying it. The timing, the silence, the sudden low profile, it's got folks asking if Ellen knew more than she let on. And if she did, she might not be sipping tea for much longer. People are saying Ellen's not escaping chaos. She's running from exposure. And here's why that's got folks side-eyeing hard. Ellen and Diddy, they go way back. Diddy's been on her show more times than anyone can count, laughing, hugging, joking about wild birthday parties that didn't stop at midnight.
$4 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did. See, I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say I'm so free.
They went upstairs. Yup, he once mentioned that they kept it going on the top 2 floors of a hotel. And this wasn't your average Hollywood after-party. And here's where it gets weird. Back in 2016, Ellen tweeted Diddy a cryptic birthday message. "Happy birthday, cuddle muggle stuff. Y'all don't need to know why." At the time, people shrugged it off. Oh, that's just quirky Ellen being Ellen. But now, with all these investigations exploding, folks want answers. What did that mean? Especially since multiple former employees have already exposed Ellen as one of the most toxic bosses in the industry. That bubbly dancing TV persona? According to insiders, it was just a mask. But wait, it goes deeper. Rumors are floating around that two of Ellen's former romantic partners died under suspicious circumstances. Nothing's officially tied to Diddy, but with his name popping up and everything, people are starting to connect dots that were hiding in plain sight. Some are even wondering, did he help cover something up? And now that Joe Rogan broke it all down on his podcast, laying everything out like a crime board, Katt Williams came back even louder. And this time, he wasn't throwing hints, he was throwing punches. Katt's naming names, calling people out directly, and putting Hollywood on blast. He's holding up the mirror and saying, "Do you see it now?" For years, Katt warned that there's a hidden world behind the red carpets and flashing lights. A world where power protects the wicked, where silence is bought, and morality gets tossed in the trash. And now, people are finally starting to believe it. This ain't about some club shooting from the 90s anymore. This is about what happens when power, fame, and darkness collide. When billionaires think they can bury the truth and dance their way out of justice. But now, the feds are knocking. Whistleblowers are talking. Even people like Elon Musk are fanning the flames. Those buried secrets? They're clawing their way out of the shadows, and it looks like no one's safe. At this point, it's not about race or fame. It's about accountability. And right now, the gates of exposure are wide open. No one's too big, too rich, or too loved to escape the spotlight. And the latest name getting dragged into the chaos? Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah, Leo. Right when Diddy's dark past started getting peeled back layer by layer, Leo was spotted boarding a private jet to Italy with his new girl. Publicly, just a vacation. But come on, the timing couldn't have been more suspicious. Almost like it was rehearsed, old pics suddenly started popping up online. Shots of Leo chilling at Diddy's infamous East Hampton estate back in 1998. The photos didn't show anything wild, just Leo lounging around. But the internet noticed, and here's what made people raise eyebrows. Leo and Diddy weren't just casual Hollywood buddies back then, they were tight. Diddy even said in an old interview that Leo was his #1 VIP guest at his iconic white parties. Yeah, the same white parties now getting a second look under a federal microscope. As soon as that pressure started building, Leo's team went full-on damage control. Suddenly they're saying, oh, they haven't spoken in years. Just like that. But social media didn't buy it. Not for a second. They saw a pattern playing out in real time. And guess who else got pulled into the mess? Ashton Kutcher. Turns out he and Leo weren't just party pals, they actually ran the New York Marathon together. And back in 2009, Ashton was right in the middle of Diddy's white party scene, front and center, smiling for the cameras. But here's where it gets sketchy. Ashton showed up on Hot Ones, and when the host asked about Diddy's parties, he started squirming, like visibly uncomfortable. That one moment had people hitting replay like crazy. And now, according to InTouch, Ashton and Mila Kunis are making moves to leave Hollywood altogether, planning to relocate to Europe. Publicly, they're saying they want a simpler life. But the internet's got another theory. They're not stepping away from the spotlight, they're stepping out of the blast zone. They see the fire coming, and they're trying to be far from the smoke before it scorches everything. But then came Terrence Howard, and he dropped a bomb on the PBD podcast that had the internet spinning out. He didn't tiptoe around it, he went all in. Terrence said what most folks only whisper in private. Diddy allegedly came at him under the fake cover of mentorship. What started off innocent, just some acting tips, turned into studio visits. Then came the stares, the weird vibes, And finally, the red flag that blew everything up. Terrence's own assistant pulled him aside and said straight up, he wants to smash. That's all Terrence needed to hear. He cut ties with Diddy immediately and vanished from that whole circle. But here's the twist. It wasn't just Diddy. Terrence said this is part of a pattern. Other high-profile producers allegedly pulled the same type of move, trying to blur the lines under the mask of mentorship, that fake guidance energy. He said it was really just predatory behavior in disguise. Terrence dropped a bar that hit deep. Don't take what a man will accept. Be the man in the room. That line stung. According to him, if you don't play the game, if you reject those shady offers and stand your ground, you don't just lose a gig, you get blacklisted. No more invites. Suddenly you're too difficult to work with. Your phone stops ringing and your name disappears from the rooms that matter. Backing him up word for word, Katt Williams, of course. Katt's been out here telling the raw truth for years, and people are finally starting to realize he wasn't just ranting. He said it plain as day. I turned down $50 million 4 times just to protect my integrity, and that virgin hole I told you about. Yeah, people laughed at that line, but Katt wasn't joking. He broke it down. When you start chasing those huge checks in Hollywood, sometimes you don't even realize what you're really agreeing to. The contracts, the meetings, the behind-closed-door setups, it's not all glitz and glam. He made it clear. That price tag comes with strings, and for some, those strings turn into chains. According to Katt Williams, Diddy tried to get close to him too, but Katt never folded. He said no every time, and then the convo shifted to something people have been whispering about for years, the infamous dress agenda. Katt brought up how Kevin Hart once went on record saying he'd never wear a dress for a role, said he had boundaries, said he had limits. But then what happened? Kevin popped up on Saturday Night Live, wearing a dress. And right after that, boom, his career exploded. To most, it looked like a comedy skit. But to Katt, that wasn't a coincidence. That was a signal. Katt said it's all calculated. He called out how this so-called dress agenda keeps showing up in Hollywood like clockwork. Think about it. Big Mama's House 1, 2, and 3, and then there's Medea. I've never seen Medea in a pantsuit, Katt said. And he wasn't joking. His point? The exaggerated image of black men in over-the-top female costumes didn't just happen by chance. He believes it's part of a system, a test, a quiet way of asking, how far will you go to make it? And if you say yes, you pass. If you say no, they lock the doors. And Katt's not the only one who noticed. Dave Chappelle told the same story during that legendary Oprah interview. Dave said producers tried to pressure him into wearing a dress for a sketch. Told him it would be hilarious, tried to laugh it off, but Dave wasn't with it. I don't feel comfortable with that, he told them. And what happened next? Dave walked away from a $50 million deal and disappeared to Africa. People called him crazy, said he was being dramatic. But others saw the truth. It was a man drawing a line in the sand and refusing to let the industry mold him into something he wasn't. For Katt, the message is cold and clear. In Hollywood, you either play the game or you get pushed out. Some of us make choices, Katt said. Some of us walk away broke just to keep our dignity. And he wasn't just talking about wearing a dress. He was calling out something way deeper. This was about integrity, about setting boundaries and the real cost of fame. According to him, some folks are willing to give up everything, their morals, their identity, even their peace, just to be seen. While others, they take the harder road, the one that doesn't come with flashing lights but keeps their soul intact. And now, with Diddy's trial crawling closer and more Hollywood names being dragged into this mess, people are starting to look back at everything with fresh eyes. Online, it's already buzzing. Folks are preparing themselves for the tidal wave of denial. Every old pic, every throwback clip, every party appearance, it's all under the microscope now. Celebs who used to proudly pose with certain power players are now either scrambling to distance themselves or ghosting the public entirely. The tension, it's building by the hour. Diddy's federal trial officially kicked off on May 5th, starting with jury selection. Once the 12 jurors and 6 alternates are in place, opening arguments will begin. It's set to run 5 days a week for around 8 weeks. Presiding over the case, is District Judge Aaron Subramanian, and leading the prosecution is Maureen Comey, the same name tied to the Ghislaine Maxwell case, backed by a tough legal team. Diddy's side? They've denied everything, claiming all relationships were consensual. He turned down a plea deal, and since it's a federal case, no cameras allowed. That means no live footage, no courtroom theatrics, just sealed doors and tight security. So what do you think is really going on here? Is this the fall of an empire, or just another Hollywood loop of scandal, silence, and spin? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. And if you're here for the raw truth, unfiltered takes, and real talk that cuts through the noise, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to see the real story. Catch you on the next one. Because trust me, this is far from over.